Good morning, everyone who is joining us live, and hello to anyone who is watching this after the event pre-recorded. My name is Lisa Crosby. I'm with Barhead Solutions, and today I'm going to take you through Power Virtual Agents, which is the newest part of the Power Platform, and it's a way to build chatbots in easy sense. Now, we are actually using Microsoft Teams live event today for the webinar. You will see a little Q&A icon in the top. We'll just do a bit of an audio check to make sure that I can see we've got quite a lot of people still joining. So if you can hear me okay, maybe in the Q&A, if you can just pop a little, yes, I can hear you, so that we know that that we're reaching you out there in the world. And then during the session, you can go into that Q&A area and ask any questions. What we'll do, just to sort of keep the flow of things going, is that I will come back at the end and pick up those questions. And if we run out of time for things, then I can certainly follow up, and we can do a blog post and things to help follow up. So any questions there, any suggestions for other sort of bits of information that you need to know. So this is an introduction to Power Virtual Agents. Now, what I'm going to cover today is, firstly, what is Power Virtual Agents? What's it about? Why has Microsoft made this, and how is it different from other ways to build a chatbot? Because there's plenty of options out there for building a chatbot. This one takes a bit of a different approach, and so we're going to take you through what that is and why it's different. I'm going to spend most of the time today doing live demos, so I can actually show you how it's built. It is a very user-friendly interface that is designed to work with no code, so you'll be able to see that in action. I'm going to work through from a fairly simple example to something a bit more complex. Then I'm going to talk briefly about the relationship between Power Virtual Agents and the broader sort of bot framework that's part of the platform, and how those things work together. And then at the end, I'll run through some use cases and scenarios, and we will take Q&A at the end. So as I said, as we go through, just pop your questions in that live event Q&A. I can see some people are confirming that they can hear us, so that's all good. So pop your questions there, and then we'll come back to those at the end. So just for context to get started, as I said, I work for Barhead Solutions. We are a consulting firm. We specialise in the Microsoft digital technology stack, and in particular business applications and the Power Platform. And Power Virtual Agents is part of that platform. So we've got this awesome tool set of low-code tools that we can implement, and we're here to help you with implementing those into your business. If you see something here that you'd like to know more about, or you'd like some help implementing those, then certainly reach out to us. We have consultants here in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and a big team in Manila who help us out. And my name is Lisa Crosby. My role here at Barhead is to be the technology evangelist, which basically means that I get to share all of this awesome information with you about the new products that are coming through. We run a bunch of free training events, and we've actually got some free training coming up on Power Virtual Agents. So I'll show you that at the end if you're interested in getting some hands-on free training with this beyond this webinar. We ran 45 free training sessions on Power Platform last year for 600 people, and we are continuing to do that this year. So you'll see a lot of free training events and webinars like this, and executive briefings, breakfast briefings, all sorts of things. So if you just follow the web link there, you'll see our events calendar, and we're about to add some more things in there coming up for the next quarter very shortly. I'm also a Microsoft Business Applications MVP, which is a technical community leadership award, which means I also do this in my spare time for fun, sharing knowledge with the community and helping people out with these things. All right, so let's have a look at what Power Virtual Agents is and why Microsoft would have done something like this. So one of the, a couple of the big driving factors behind everything in the Power Platform and in the business application stack from Microsoft, there's two important things here. One of them is about high velocity, low code development. So the demand for developing applications and developing chatbots is huge, and there aren't enough professional developers out there who can keep up with that demand. So the idea of having these low-code tool sets is to open up the option for more people to be involved in doing this. So Power Virtual Agents in particular is about enabling people who are your experts on the front line, who deal with customers, who know what comes in every day, to be involved in that process of making bots and iterating them, rather than having that disconnect between the people who know the subject matter and the people who can write code to write a bot. So we're really bridging that gap. And the second big direction that we're seeing in the Microsoft platform is about democratizing artificial intelligence. So bringing AI to the platform, to these tools, and making that available for people who don't necessarily know how to get in behind the scenes and create machine learning models or create predictive models and so on. So Power Virtual Agents is bringing both of these things together, the idea of a low-code toolset that brings your subject matter experts right to the front of that experience, and enabling you to use artificial intelligence without needing to have a very high pro-dev skill set in doing that. And a big focus of Power Virtual Agents is this notion of natural conversational AI. So what we're looking at here is a bot that talks to you in a natural conversational way rather than a stilted way. And the AI technology around language processing and so on is at work here. Again, you don't need to be building that. It's all in the front end. So as I go through the demos, I'll show you what that means. So traditionally, chatbots are, awesome to help out, but they're hard to create and they're expensive to maintain. You have to go in and build and deploy and test and iterate, and going through an iteration cycle to update them is just as expensive as doing it. So the cost of deployment is very high. They're not that useful unless you can actually integrate with the back end. So what we're going to see here is a bot that can do more than just questions and answers, but something that can actually take action for the customer as well. And as I was saying before, that impedance between the subject matter experts with the answers and the scientists who create bots. So this is where Power Virtual Agents is coming in to help overcome these barriers to building bots for organizations who, even large organizations who look at creating a bot and say, yes, we know we need to do that, but it's a really, really expensive piece of work to get something up and running. And so the vision then for Power Virtual Agents, just to recap, is that it will engage naturally. It will be a natural feeling conversation. It will be able to democratize AI, bringing your subject matter experts in, allowing them to take advantage of that stuff with a no-code interface. You can point the AI to your website, so I'll show you an example of that. If you've got existing FAQ content, you can automatically pull that in and build topics quickly, so you can use what you've already got. And most exciting here is that the bot can actually also take action. So this is where Power Automate, which is another part of the Power Platform, comes in, and this integrated tool set, is that you can connect to your other systems, which means the bot can actually do things for the customer. Instead of just being a Q&A bot, it can actually go out and do that. So when we get to the demo, I will show you how those things work. So let's have a look at sort of the customer experience with and without a bot. Here's an example of an experience I'm sure that we all go through, and if anyone else is going through trying to deal with airlines at the moment, cancelling tickets and so on, we all go through this kind of thing. You get on the phone, hi, I need a refund. The person on the other end of the phone, can you please provide the date and the purchase number? Well, firstly, I don't necessarily, like as a customer, you think about this from the point of view of the customer experience. I don't necessarily have those things to hand. As a customer, I'm like, oh yeah, I bought it maybe 3 months ago and I don't have my order number. I'd have to go away and look it up or find my receipt and search for it. So that takes some time. And then the agent, can you hold on while I review your order? Sure. So we watch the clock ticking here. 5 minutes has passed. I've gone away, had to find all that information. The agent has gone away and done some stuff. And the average time for this kind of interaction is 18 minutes. To be honest, 18 minutes sounds pretty good for me. I've had plenty of these kinds of phone type interactions where I've had to go away and find an order number or hung up and come back again that take longer than that. So, it's not, from a customer experience point of view, not a terribly good customer experience. So what do we do as organisations when we want to automate these things? First thing we do, let's make that a web form. Yay, now we've solved our problem. But what we're doing here is we're putting a web form over the top of it. Sure, this is quicker now, but the customer still has to go away and find the date of purchase and the order number. So, created a ticket and the refund was requested. refund request is completed this time in 9 minutes. So we've halved the time, but from a customer point of view, I'm sitting there, I'm logging onto the website, I've still had to go away and do that work and find my stuff. It's still not the greatest customer experience. So what we're looking at here is the idea of what can we do with a bot, and this idea of a bot that can take action and that can retrieve information from your other systems. Hi, I'm an agent. If this person is logged in and authenticated, they can say, the bot can go away and find their recent purchases, find that information and say, which one is it you want? This is a whole lot easier now. It's done in less than 1 minute. If there are rules applied here to do automated refunds or whatever needs to be done, but the massive difference here, not just in time, and it is a huge difference in time, but the massive difference in that customer experience when the bot can actually do something, when the bot can take action, is enormous. All right, so let's go in and have a look at Power Virtual Agents live. In terms of spinning up, you can spin up a trial if you want to have a play with this, and we'll pop a link into that a little bit later. So what we've got here is spinning up a bot, and we've got the concept here of topics, which is the main part of the bot. So the topics, the idea here is that these are conversation points. So I've got a bunch of different topics in here, and let's just start by building a topic to give you a sense of how this works. So let's create one that's going to give us movie recommendations. And we start by entering trigger phrases. Now, this is where we start to see the start of this natural language processing AI coming into the picture. In the old days, when you were building a bot, you would have to program in every single possible permutation, combination, exact wording of what a person would look for or what they would type. Whereas what we're doing here is we can start with 5 to 10 diverse phrases, and the bot learns the intent and the meaning of those things, so that when the person comes along and enters something, it doesn't have to be the exact trigger phrase that you've put in there. So we say, I'm looking for a good movie recommendation. Good movie to see. Can you recommend those kinds of things? So I'll just put in 3 to get started there, and we can save our topic. But yes, 5 to 10 in there, and then, as I said, you don't have to put in every possible combination of what's going on there. So we'll just jump in here to the authoring canvas, and you'll see how easy this is to use. So this is a nice drag and drop interface that is designed for a no-code interface. So here are our trigger phrases, and we'll make the bot start off with yes, sure. Help. Just a note on some sort of best practice here around bots. It's been found that if you're starting out as an organisation and you're using a bot for the first time, it is well worth saying, you know, hi, I'm, in this case, Marvin, I'm a bot, I'm in training, how can I help you? And the satisfaction from customers goes up enormously when you are upfront about the fact that you've got a bot in training, because people expect something there. They expect that they're helping the bot with training. If you don't own up that it's a bot and the experience isn't good, the customer satisfaction goes way down. So if you are embarking on this kind of technology, then certainly saying up front, hi, I'm a bot, I'm in training, is a wise thing to do. All right, so we've got a trigger phrase, we've got our authoring canvas, and what we want to do here is add in a few different options. So we're going to say, ask a question, and let's say we're going to ask something like, what kind of movies? You can see here, I'm just adding, you know, as I go through and add something, it gives me different options for what I want to add. And then the answer can be a series of multiple choice options. It can be the user's entire response as a string. A bunch of these are called pre-built entities. I'll come back to that in a little bit later in the demo to show you how they work. But what we're going to do here is pop in some multiple choice options and watch what happens on the authoring canvas here as I do this. So let's say I like horror movies, and we're going to add that as an option. So that has now created some conditional branches. So already this has gone down to be equal to horror. I might like romantic comedy, and I might like science fiction, for instance. So you'll see there that canvas has has created all of those options for me. We'll just get rid of that last one there, and put those conditions as it's built it out for me. What we're going to do is we're going to save that response as a variable. So we're going to say this is, for instance, movie type. Done, and that's going to update that variable there. So already what we've got here is asking a question, we're giving multiple options, and it's adding out those branching conditions for me. And then for each of those conditions we can do various types of things, and this is where we get into the idea of different types of actions. So I could ask another question, so the same kind of thing that I just did. I could show another message to say, why on earth would you want a movie? And then we can say we're going to end that conversation and we're going to transfer an agent. I think this person needs to speak to someone. So you've got the opportunity to use this to transfer to a live agent, and that can work in with whatever system you're using to do that. You can also, if you don't have a live agent system, your escalation point can be something like create a case or send an email to someone or whatever. So there are lots of different ways to escalate from the bot out to someone else who can help, which can be, as I said, a live agent or any other kind of option there to raise a ticket of some kind, but the bot can do that for you. The customer doesn't have to then go away and raise the ticket. So in this case, we might say, how about we go to another topic? So we can actually go in and kind of choose another topic here to refer them on to something else, or we can call an action. So this is where the bot can do different things, for instance, using Power Automate. So for those of you who might not be familiar with the concept of Power Automate, Power Automate is a system in the Power Platform that allows us to create flows, and it allows us to create automations, so triggers and actions. So things like, when this call is made from the bot, go away and find something. So I've got some examples there that I'm going to show you later about, we might say, let's go in and call an action and say, let's create a ticket. So this, for instance, can go in and do any of those actions, and these are pre-configured actions that exist with Power Automate that you can create. So this is where the power of this tool set works together, is that Power Automate can go out and do things. It can reach into your other systems. It can reach into your, if you're using Dynamics 365, it can go there, but you can also use that to connect to, you might be using Zendesk or your ERP system or whatever. If you've got a connector there, you can use Power Automate to do that, and your bot can then via Power Automate go out and grab that information or take action in those systems. I'll just close that one for now because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this context. So we'll just say, good choice. And then we might want to say something like, let's, in this case, say, go to another topic, which would be, would you like to find cinema near you? And this allows us to go to another topic that's pre-built in the thing. So I've got another topic in here called cinema locations, which asks the person for their location and can help them find that. So the idea of these topics is you have different topics for different things, and you can design, as you're going through and doing this, for the topic to redirect to each other. And I'll show you that redirect when we go through here as well. And we might here just say, let's end the conversation with a survey there, just to move it along a little bit. We'll get rid of this option. Now the other thing to point out here, it popped up a fourth option because when I was typing it in, I accidentally added a blank fourth option. But if I try to save it at this point, you'll notice here that we've got a topic checker that is showing me something in red. So traditionally, if you're building a bot with code, you'd have to be, compiling that and testing and doing all of those things. This is actually giving you an error check. It's looking for things like circular references and orphaned topics and things. So we see here, this one is showing me that there's an error. It's highlighting it in red. So as I'm building it, it's helping me with that kind of error management. And if I delete that, you'll see now the topic checker is all happy and I can save that topic. All right, so now we can run a test. And so I've got my test bot over here, and we can test it live in the interface. So we've also got a number of channels we can deploy this to, which I'll show you a little bit later. But for now, what we can do is just have a look at, here is how we can test this topic. So we can see I want be a movie. I don't think that's one of the phrases that I used exactly when I was testing the trigger phrase. So if it doesn't understand that, it's going to give me an option for what it thinks I mean. So we're going to say, yes, I want movie recommendations. And what we'll see on the side here is as we go through the bot, so in the test mode, it's going to go through the user interface and actually check off where we're up to so we can follow where we're up to in those things. So I'm going to say, what kind of movie do we like? I like romantic comedy. And that's going to follow that conditional path. And you'll see now what it's doing because that redirected to the other topic about cinemas near me. So in the tracking window here, this is switched over to the other window and it's switched across to what location are you interested in. So I'll say, yeah, I'll like South Yarra. And our South Yarra cinema is at the Jam Factory. So there we go, following along again. Did that answer your question? Yes, it did. Now this part at the end where we just say end conversation, automatically built in is that customer satisfaction rating. So we can say yes, and I can say, yep, that was a good experience. Thank you very much. And all good. Can I help you with anything else? No, thanks. So that's a very basic example of a bot. Just to summarize there, we've got that idea of a very straightforward user interface. I can put in messages and questions. I can use it to trigger, to take actions, to connect to flows that I've built in Power Automate, and I'll show you a better example of that next. I can redirect to other trigger topics in there, and it's got that built-in ability to rate the experience. You've also got the option to escalate either to a live agent, or if you don't have a live agent system, you can escalate to the bot creating a ticket for the customer. So basic examples there of how we can make that customer experience a little bit better. In terms of being able to use your own Q&A experience, you can go into here and say, let's suggest topics. So what I've used as an example here, the NASA frequently asked questions site has got some sort of fun and interesting stuff in it. So if you've got an FAQ site, something like this, you can actually just grab the URL, you go in here and put the web page link in and click add. I won't do it again because I've actually done that earlier. It takes maybe 3 or 4 minutes to go through. And then what it does is turns that content. So if I have a look at this content here, it's got different categories of things. If I have a look at, for instance, elementary education, there's a bunch of sort of questions here. Where can I get educational materials? And in the suggested topics, you'll see that that's come through. Where can I get educational materials? So within about 2 or 3 minutes, paste your URL in, it just pulls in all of that topic. So if you've got FAQ content already on your website, you've got that in there. I can go in and say, yep, I want to add that one. So it doesn't automatically add them all. What it will do is put them into the suggested list, and then it gives you the ability, I've clicked something a bit strange there, sorry. It gives you the ability to choose which ones you want to turn live and choose which ones you want to publish. So it doesn't automatically add them all. So you have some control there over editing and publishing them. So we can go in here and we can say, yes, let's turn that one on. And then that will now be a live topic in the system. And you can see here with the way that the agent is working, that if we wanted to come back in and say we needed to amend some of these things, so if I go in here and say let's have a look at this one, you can add additional topics. So if we go in and have a look here, go to the authoring canvas for this one, then I can go in and add additional trigger phrases. So we could say, I want classroom materials for NASA education, something like that. So traditionally, your FAQ won't be written in the same way that you would write for a bot, but it certainly gives you that starting point, and then you can just go in and edit those things and add them in there. And then in terms of being able to iterate and work with a bot, hopefully you can see here that if you're a person on the front line and you notice that people are asking different kinds of questions, the ability to go in and just sort of edit or add a different trigger phrase to improve the performance of your bot is very easy to do. So just in terms of that performance, we've also got built-in analytics over here. So this is giving you analytics on what's going on with the bot. So we've got, the total number of sessions, engagement rate, resolution rate, and so on. We also get this customer satisfaction score, which is based on those smiley faces and things here. And you can see here, where is the CSAT higher or lower? Where is the bot actually successfully answering questions and things? So you've got these built-in analytics. So this part is completely out of the box. It just comes like that, and it gives you a very quick ability to be able to say which topics are working well, where is the bot handling it, where do we need to do those adjustments. Having a look at the abandoned conversations is one of the top things to do. The abandoned conversations is where the performance can be improved, where people weren't satisfied. So this makes it very easy for you to see what's working, what's not, and what you should fix. All right, so let's go back in and have another look, have a look at another example. And this one's a little bit more of a complex example because what we've done so far is a little bit of a, more standard kind of Q&A, but let's have a look at the bot actually going out and doing things. And in this case, we're using Power Automate for it to go out and reach into a system where I am going to manage kind of returns for a store. So let's go back into the bot here, and I'm going to go back into topics, and we're looking at one here that's about returning items. So the scenario here is, if we think back to that little animation we had at the start, the customer experience of I need to return something, I have to get on the phone, I have to find my order number, versus a bot being able to do this for you. This is an example of how that can work, and we can have different conditional branches here. So we've got a returns process here that says what's the purchase price, and we can say that if it's less than $2,000, we have a different policy than if it's over $2,000. If it's less than $2,000, we're going to say, yes, you can return the item by mail. Please enter your email address, and I'll take you through this path and show you what happens. But as we get further down, what we're doing is using this Power Automate action here, this flow, to get the order information by email. So I'll just take you in and show you that, especially for those of you who might not have seen Power Automate before. And this is more of a conceptual thing. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you can do with Power Automate, but this is essentially allowing you to do any kind of trigger and action. So in this case, our trigger is an HTTP request received from the bot, and from then we can build in any action with any connector. So in this case, I'm using a common data service database, but this could be your Salesforce database. This could be your Oracle database. This could be, your ERP system. It could be anything you're using. So actually, one of the really important things to note about Power Virtual Agent, it's quite different from other products in the market in that it is not tied to, you don't have to be using another Microsoft system as your back end. So you could put this on top of whatever other system you've got. You get that Power Automate capability included with Power Virtual Agents to do the Power Virtual Agents actions here. So you don't actually have to be dependent on another Microsoft system to use this. You can grab this and use this with whatever system you've got that you can connect up through Power Automate. And Power Automate has 300 or so native connectors built into major kind of business systems, or you can build your own custom connector if that's something you want to do. And that's quite different, for instance, from the Salesforce bot, which requires you to be on their cloud. This one allows you to do this with your existing systems. So I've got a common data service database in this case, just for the example. The bot is sending through a request, and what it's doing is saying, let's find all of our, so in this case, device orders is a list of orders for people who've been ordering. It's an orders of laptop devices. So we're going through and finding all of those things. We are, composing a variable to find the most recent one, and then returning in the body. This is returning it back to the bot using the HTTP connector again, the different pieces of information. So I won't go into too much detail about that here now, but just conceptually for what this is doing, there's a trigger coming from the bot. You are putting in a connection to whatever system of record or system of action you want to use, and it's able to take whatever action you want on that and then provide a response back to the bot. So let's see this in action here in the side window. We'll say I want to earn product. And again, it follows down the side here. Sorry to hear not happy. What was the purchase price? So I'm going to take it down the path of less than $2,000. So I'm going to say it was worth $1,000. And you'll see here it'll go down that left-hand path of working out that the condition is less than 1,000. So there we go. You can return the item by mail. Please enter your email address. Now, in this case, I'm just playing around with an unauthenticated user. It's using the email address as a unique identifier to retrieve my information. So you'll see there it's found that, and it's used that flow that I just showed you in Power Automate to find that email, go back into the database, find, in this case, I've defined it as the most recent one, but you could have it returning more than one value or doing anything else. So you'll see there it's retrieved the information, Microsoft Surface Pro, there's my email, order number, order date, and the price. Now, how much better is that than me as a customer having to find that? The bot has actually gone and done that work and retrieved that for me, and I can define whatever I want that to be. I'm going to say, yes, thank you, I'd like to return that item. And thank you, I've initiated your return request. It's also gone ahead and generated a returns authorization code. So it's found the information, made it easy for me, generated the code. You can have that code written back somewhere else. You can have that email sent out. You can connect it to an SMS gateway and send out SMSs. So anything you can do within Power Automate to take action, retrieve information, find things, send information out, all of that power is available to you with Power Virtual Agents. So suddenly now you've got a bot that is doing far more than just Q&A. And one of the things at this point to note is that there are a lot of internal use cases for something like this. So traditionally we think of bots as external bots. You know, you stick it on a website and people will ask questions or whatever. But what this opens up is different kinds of ideas. So one of the things you could do with something like this is, for instance, you know, for people wanting to check internally your HR system, what's my leave request, when's my next pay due, all those kinds of things, because you can connect it up to that and you can create that bot and use it as an internal scenario. And we're actually seeing with this that, you know, for customers sort of coming through and asking us about it, that that it's actually, you know, quite a lot of the use cases are those kinds of internal use cases working on your internal system. So you don't just have to think of this as a technology for a website customer facing. You've got a lot of other options in there. So just on that, in terms of channels, if we have a look at the channels here, these are the different ways that you can put your bot out into the world. And this is current. We're recording this in March 2020. So if you're watching this at some time in the future, there may well be more options coming through. But at the moment, what we've got, first thing you can do is whack it on a demo website. So if you're just playing around with a demo, this makes it super easy to put your bot on a demo website and you can show it off to people. So if you didn't want them sort of, you know, getting in here, we can do this and just, you know, copy that and save it and put it on a demo website. You can put it on your own website. And again, this is very easy. It's just a little piece of embed code, and then your people who know what they're doing with websites can put that in a little pop-up or format that however they want, but that's the piece of code and it's as simple as that. Internal use cases very well enabled by Microsoft Teams, so you could have your bot operating in Microsoft Teams. We've got Facebook, mobile apps and so on. The other thing that's coming in the Wave 1 2020 release, which is features rolling out between April and September 2020, is the ability to add your bot to a Power App, which means that you'll be able to create for your staff a Power App that could have a chatbot. So you could have staff out in the field using a chatbot to get information that would help them do their jobs. So this really opens up a bunch of different ideas and ways of using bots. As I said, we can think far more broadly than just, I mean, it does a very, very good job of that traditional use case of putting the chatbot on the website, but you've got a bunch of other things open to you here, heap of different channels, and then with the ability to put it onto a Power App as well, then that's going to open up even more. Okay, so let's have a look at another example that uses a concept in the system here called entities. So if we'll just reset our bot here, and I'm going to have a look at a new topic here about car insurance. So let's say, this is a fairly typical kind of scenario for a bot to say, I need to insure my car. So again, we can just flesh out some topics there, and then let's go ahead into the authoring canvas. I should save my work before I move on. So we'll go through there into the authoring canvas. So this is a fairly typical kind of conversation that might go on about car insurance. I need to insure my car. Certainly I can help you with that. What's the colour of your car? How old are you? What city do you live in? Now, this will work beautifully. We can just, I've sort of pre-built this one just so it's not quite so slow to watch. We say, what's the colour of your car? But what we're doing here is using this concept of pre-built entities. So these are not the same as entities as you might know them if you're familiar with the Common Data Service. The idea here is this is the concept of slot filling. So this is core to the notion of conversational AI, because people don't talk like this, right? If I was talking to a person and I said, I want to insure my car, the conversation going, what's the colour of your car? Red. How old are you? 20. You're more likely to go, I've got a red car, I live in Melbourne, I'm 25 years old, whatever. You wouldn't necessarily have this very stilted, ask these questions in this order. So we want to get to that point of conversational AI where the bot is recognising those key bits of information the same way a person would recognise them. So what we've got in the system here is some pre-built entities in the system that recognise things. So for instance, colour is a pre-built entity that will recognise colours. We have one for cities, and I've created another custom one there to make sure that we're recognising Australian cities. We've got one about age, so it will recognise your age, and there's a bunch of them in there that are predefined. So what I've said here is that when I'm asking the question, what is the colour of your car, I am looking for it to identify from what it already understands in the AI to be a known colour. When I ask how old are you, I'm asking for it to recognise my age. And again, I'm saving these things as variables each time, saving that as a variable car colour, a variable age, and a variable of where do you live. And then we've just got a simple output at the end that says, thank you, you need insurance for A, and I'm picking up that variable, the car colour that was filled in there, and the age and the city. On the test here, I can pop out a little variable values window so that we can watch what happens. So let's just run the bot as it stands. We say I need car insurance. What's the colour of your car? So if I type in red, watch what happens on the topic variable values there. So we're following down the side, but now you can see that it's also stored that variable there. How old are you? Oh, I'm 25. Let's pretend. And so that will fill that in. What city do you live in? I live in Melbourne. And that's filling in that variable, and then it's going to return that confirmation message. So as I said, that's fine, but it's not a particularly natural conversation. So what happens if I don't answer the questions in the right order and if I give it too much? Now, this is a little bit magic. This is not something that you would normally have been able to do in the past. And again, where the AI is coming into the platform. I need car insurance. So I'm going to say I have a red car. I live in Melbourne. Look at that. It does not have to work through the questions in the exact order. The ability for it to understand those entities and those predefined bits of information in the context of how I'm phrasing that in natural language is kicking in, and it's been able to pick up all of those variables and pick up all of those bits of information and populate the variables and bring me back the same information. So you don't have to create a very highly structured thing. You've got all those things in there, but when the person is interacting naturally, so then in this scenario, you wouldn't start with what's the color of your car. You might say, you know, tell me the make and model of your car or whatever it is, and whatever the person types in, it will go through. And if you miss something, it will also pick that up. So again, once more, I can say I need car insurance, and this time I might say yellow car and I live in Sydney. So what it will do is pick up that I've given it a colour and a city, but I haven't given it an age. So there you go, it's worked through, and now it's prompted me with how old are you? So it's actually able to determine, okay, I can skip the question about where do you live because you've already got that, but I still need to ask the age question, and I can put that in, and then it's happy. So it's able to work through that much more sort of natural conversational way of having conversation. That's far more like having a conversation with a person rather than that very stilted kind of old school bot. So just to have a look at those entities there behind the scenes, these are the ones that are, you know, standardly in there. And the idea is this is just a bucket, a collection of terms. So I can create a custom entity, and this is going to educate the bot about any topic I want. So let's say, for instance, I want to tell it that we're looking at, you know, completely different scenario here. We're looking at shoes, and I can list different kinds of items. So I might say heels, flats, boots, slippers. So I'm defining for it, here are the different kind of words that I want you to consider in that category of information. And then I can also add synonyms in here. So I might say, well, someone might call this stilettos, or we might call them pumps. So whatever your domain knowledge or whatever it is there, you can actually go in and teach the bot that language, your terminology, your entities, and then the next time we come along to use it, we can pull that in the same way that I pulled in the previous example. It comes pre-built understanding colours, and it comes pre-built understanding age and cities and things, but I can put in whatever it is that I need for my business and doing that. If I put in smart matching, that also enables it to pick up things like misspellings or grammatical variations or synonyms that it knows. And again, you can go in and improve this. You can always come back in. You can see how easy it is to just go in and add additional items or add additional synonyms. So you can teach the bot your terminology and your language so that it can learn to understand that stuff as well. All right, so let's just go back and look briefly at sorry, lost my slide here. I don't think I've got it. Well, I'll just put this back up, sorry, while I've got it here, the Azure Bot Framework. So I'll leave that there and I'll come back to the chat window. So I can see a few questions coming through. I'll have a look at those in a second. So keep those coming through if you've got them in there. One thing I did want to talk about is the relationship with the broader bot framework. So the important thing here is that stuff is all still under the hood. So if you are skilled with creating those Azure bot skills, so for things like the Power Virtual Agents bot is going to be very good at single turn conversations, the relatively straightforward stuff I was showing you there, being able to use Power Automate to go out and take actions. But if you want to get into something more complex, really kind of multi-turn conversations or more complex things, you can still build those using the bot skills and you can bring them in. So we've got this beautiful kind of seamless experience between the low code and the high code. So where I was showing you before that ability to say, let's add an action, then what you can do is add an action and just connect directly to the bot skill. So if you're a low code person, you're an agent at the front and you're working through being able to change topics and things, you know, reiterate on the bot and the questions, but you've still got a team of people behind the scenes who are building out more advanced bot skills, then that's something that can be very easily just pulled into the low code interface. So those two things work beautifully together. And the combination really is to say, you know, sometimes Power Virtual Agents is going to be the right solution. Sometimes the more sophisticated bot framework is going to be the right solution. And you can have multiple bots in an organization doing different things. Even within Power Virtual Agents, you can create multiple bots within what you've got there, and you can have ultimately you can get to sort of an orchestration bot that can hand off to other bots and so on. So you've got lots of possibilities working there, but it is actually all still that Azure bot framework going on underneath the hood. We've got a beautiful low-code, user-friendly interface available to us with Power Virtual Agents, but you can absolutely still quite easily bring in and tap into the more advanced stuff in Azure if that's your thing. All right, so while I leave that up there, I've got some dates there for when we are coming up for our, we're going to run Power Virtual Agents Bot in a Day training. So it's a hands-on training session, one in Melbourne and one in Sydney to start with. And we are running those at the end of March. Brand new content, really excited to get that one out to be able to offer that to you. So it's a relatively kind of small group hands-on training session. So if you're interested in that, our website, barhead.com, and you just click on the events link there, you'll be able to register for that, and we'll add more dates there based on the demand. So I'm just going to pause for a second and have a look at the questions. All right, I can see Chuck Sterling is having a little bit of a chat with me. Hello, Chuck. All right. All right. If I have a database or SharePoint list of people in my firm who can speak different languages, can it be used to return data in the list, e.g. if someone asks who can speak French? Not quite sure I fully understand the question, but in terms of the multilingual capacity, there is multilingual capacity coming in the Wave 1 release. So again, the Wave 1 is April to September this year, and that's being added. So this product is new. It only went into general availability late last year, so we're going to see more and more stuff coming through. So what we'll see there is multilingual capacity. I'm pretty sure French is one of the languages. There's about 6 or 7 languages there. What we will see is the bot will work best when it doesn't switch between languages. You might have multiple bots, like one bot to handle each language, but then you could have a bot at the top that could ask what language do you prefer and hand off to the right bot that does that. So I will hopefully that one answers that question. From your examples, the user initiates a conversation with the bot. Is it possible to monitor for certain condition, have the bot initiate the conversation with a user? You would be able to, the bot would pop up, I think, depending on the channel that you're using and the scenario there would be options for doing that. That's probably a bit hard to answer without a scenario in there. We've got one there. Where is the data stored from the chat? So I will jump back in and show you in here. I don't think I've got enough data in my analytics yet, but you will get the notion here of sessions. So it's being there's not enough data in there at the moment, but you'll actually get full session transcripts available in there that you can work in. So that's being stored there. You could also, if you are handing off to an agent, for instance, it will pass all that information through to the agent, so they're not having to repeat themselves. And of course, licensing requirements. So it's a couple of questions in there about licensing. So the way that this works is that it's licensed for your organization. So it's not a per user license. It's actually done on the number of sessions. So the idea of a session there is from when the person instigates a chat right through to when the person ends the chat, either by consciously ending it or bailing out on it. There is a limit to stop people being being completely stupid with that. I can't remember the number offhand, but it's something like 100 turns or a certain time or whatever. But for you know, all of the sensible use cases, 99% of the use cases, it's pretty much that natural kind of conversation. So it could pick up, you know, 10 different topics or go back and forth 10 times and so on. So that would be defined as a session. I've got the US prices here because they're nice and round. The Australian dollar prices is just like a conversion of 0.8 or something like that. So the base application starts with 2,000 sessions a month for $1,000 US. And then you can add on additional capacity for more sessions in a month. You don't need a separate license to be a bot author. There is actually a separate license, but it's a $0 license. So you're really just paying for those sessions and that usage. And the other thing to point out here in terms of the value you're getting with this is that you're actually getting that Power Automate capability to use with the bot. Now that doesn't mean you've got Power Automate capability to go off and do completely unrelated things, but if it is the bot instigating that Power Automate trigger out to a system, that's included, which is a hugely valuable part of that. So that license is including those sessions and the ability to use the bot to trigger Power Automate. Can the answers that the bot receives be entered into a SharePoint list using Power Automate? Absolutely. SharePoint is a connector there. So yes, if SharePoint is your backend, then yes, you could do that. You could do all of the things I was just showing you there. The same concept. If you can retrieve, if you've got records stored in a SharePoint list, you could retrieve them. You could have it write something to a SharePoint list. So that's all fine as well. Okay, I think that's covered sort of most of the main questions there. What I will do is pull together, because there's a couple of other sort of different ones there, and just make sure I've covered them, and we will do a little follow-up on some of those other Q&As. There's another one there about how does this differ compared to creating bots in Azure. I think I might have covered that since the question was asked. Just to recap there, the difference is that you don't need code here. When you're creating bots in Azure, you need to be writing code, but these two things work together. So again, when I'm back in here, if I'm in my topic, and if I have a look, for instance, at my car insurance topic, where I did the, you know, calling a flow, calling Power Automate before. So down here, where let's say we're going to add an action here. So this idea here of call an action, this is picking up any flows that I've built in Power Automate in the environment that I'm working in. But if I have created Azure Bot skills, then they would show up here as well. And it's as simple as the same concept as what I was showing to you with calling an action and picking up a flow. You can call an action and pick up the bot skill as well. So you can work those two things together, and the person who knows how to build those things can build them, and the person who's working on the front low code end can just call that one in. So you've got those things, and that's where it would sit there, is call an action. I don't have one live in my demo. So it's really the difference between the low code interface and the full code experience, but an absolutely seamless experience of being able to bring those things together. So you don't have to make that choice or start again. If you get to a point here where you need to bring in something more complex, you can go away and build that, and you can bring it, you can trigger it back from within here. Okay, there's some more specific licensing questions there around, you know, an Australian firm and making sure that the global firms aren't using that. That one's coming through as an anonymous question. I think I would be very happy to sort of pick that one up for you specifically. It's a little bit too specific for me to answer here. So if you want to just ping me with your name or something afterwards, and I'm happy to have a chat to you about that. So any of those sort of more specific questions there about across sort of, you know, organisations internationally and who's using what, I'll take that one on notice and get back to you on that. All right, I think that covers most of the questions that we've got in there for now. So I will go through and make sure we do a follow-up. If you've popped a question in there that's if you've logged in as anonymous, if you just want to sort of add in your reply, your name, and I'm happy to pick those up, because I've covered most of them, I think, but I'm aware there's more there than I can quickly get through now while we've got everyone on the line. So we'll wrap up a few minutes early there, I think. Thank you all very much for coming along. Lots and lots of interest in this, as I said, we've got those Power Virtual Agent in a Day sessions coming up. We're also quite happy to come and do in-person demos if you want to see something a little bit more specific to your use case. So as I said, in terms of how people are using this, we've got the ability to use it for internal. So think differently about how you can use this more than just that website chat window. We've got those ideas, but we've also got the ability to say we could have an internal use case. So think about how much effort you could save internally for people who ask questions. You can house that in Teams. You could put that on a Power App coming soon, and you can put that in the hands of your employees to be able to get the information they need using a bot. So we're seeing this in a variety of industries, from customer support through to retail, all of those kinds of things. But yeah, start thinking about this as more than just an external B2C use cases. There's a lot of B2B ideas, internal, other kinds of things that we can do with it. So, and as I said, relatively new piece of the Power Platform, certainly a lot more exciting stuff to come. In wave one, I've referred to the fact that we've got the ability to put it into a Power App. We're also going to be able to kind of include images and videos in the responses. So there's lots of stuff coming there. So we will certainly come back and do an updated version of a webinar and some demos and things to show off those new features over the coming months as they become available, because there's going to be heaps more to get excited about here. I think it's pretty awesome already. So thank you all for joining. We'll end this now. The session's been recorded, so if you've got colleagues who you think will be interested in this who weren't able to join live, you'll be able to forward that link on to them, and we'll be posting that afterwards so that people can catch up afterwards. And certainly reach out to us. We are on LinkedIn as Barhead Solutions. My name's Lisa Crosby. I'm relatively easy to find on LinkedIn as well. Please send me a message, and we're happy to get back to you and help you with anything there. So thank you very much for joining.